We say goodbye to Cardiff and its city of castles and headed north to the second largest city in the UK that is home to a booming art industry, groundbreaking musicians, as well as chocolate, jewellery, and is just a stone's throw away from William Shakespeare's birthplace. Welcome to Birmingham. I'm not at a cricket ground. You're going to find me here in Birmingham. It's definitely the place to be. It's the home of Cadbury, and we're about to see what that chocolate making process is all about.
So Cadbury World, we've got a variety of zones. You can discover the origins of cocoa bean through the Aztec jungle. We've got zones all about the heritage of the Cadbury brand. You can find out how chocolate's made, how chocolate was made in the past. You can go on a ride through a magical land with the cocoa beans, and also in our 4D cinema you can join the Cadbury characters, Freddo and the Caramel Bunny, on an adventure around Bourneville.
Cadbury chocolate, a favourite for millions of South Africans, was founded in Birmingham nearly 200 years ago. Over those 2 centuries, Cadbury's has become the second largest confectionery brand in the world and operates in more than 50 countries globally.
John Cadbury actually first opened his shop in the Ball Street in Birmingham city centre in 1824. And then over the years he then developed into a chocolate manufacturer and came over to the Bourneville site in 1879, so we've been here ever since.
Being a lover of chocolate, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to get first-hand experience of making some myself, with a little help from one of Cadbury World's chocolatiers.
You definitely have to stop by the chocolate making zone. That's where you can find out how they made chocolate back in the early 1900s. And also you can see how it's made, but also have a go yourself. So have a go yourself at tempering chocolate, writing your name in chocolate, drawing a little picture, something which everybody really loves doing.
Hi Crystal, you having a nice day?
Yeah, very good, Jay. I'm so excited to be here and to see what you do.
Okay.
So what are you doing right now?
I think you'll enjoy this because this chocolate's 40 degrees, very warm, and put it on the marble. The marble surface is the best to use because it's easy to clean, very durable, natural quality chocolate down, you see. And then spread it out, hand temper it by using a fishtail and knife, making it sticky and shiny, and then basically pouring it onto the mould, covering all the shapes, giving it a good shake, make the air always rise to the top, scraping the extra chocolate off, turning it upside down, extra chocolate falls out, rest sticks in there, scraping the excess off and doing the fillings, and in the fridge it goes and it's ready. It's about half an hour process to make one of these. So that's the technique of how they used to make the chocolates many years ago.
Wonderful. What a fascinating process in making the chocolate. Jay, thank you so much for showing us how it's done. I think I may have found my next calling.
I'm going to give you a certificate today. You are a chocolatier today.
It's just because I love chocolate that much. Shall we go taste it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
They do say that the proof is in the tasting, so I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Okay, I think I will go with the Oreo one to start with.
Okay.
Awesome. It's lovely. When visiting Birmingham, whip out your must-see list, and on that you'd have the Jewellery Quarter, the canal waterways, but number 1 on the list has to be its biggest attraction, this Cadbury World. Birmingham, like so many large cosmopolitan cities around the world, has an inner city culture that is dynamic, vibrant, and filled with creativity. One of the most obvious expressions of that creativity is the visual arts, particularly graffiti, especially when it's in your face and the size of buildings, as is the case in the coolest neighborhood in Birmingham, Digbeth. Local graffiti artist Title took me on a tour of Digbeth, showcasing some of the spectacular artwork that has transformed this industrialized hub into a modern, exciting and inspirational space that is now attracting artists from all over the world.
Well, I think with Digbeth, I mean, this was always an industrial area. A lot of the factories across the road have been pulled down to make way for luxury apartments. A lot of the warehouses around here have been taken over by creative businesses, particularly this complex here, the custard factory. It was called the custard factory because it was literally Bird's Foot custard factory. Closed down in the 20th century, reopened about 20 years ago, and it's drawn in lots of creative, small, independent businesses, and a lot of the local businesses have given up their walls for graffiti and street art. So as the buildings around in the area over the last 2 decades have come down and have become wasteland as they're awaiting, redevelopment, they've been taken over by the street art. I think every major city in the world has embraced graffiti and street art at some level of another. It's absolutely huge. People contact me from South Africa, South America, North America, across Europe. I mean, it's a massive scene. I mean, with Birmingham being the second city, you're going to get it. And this particular area of Digbeth seems to be the main spot. There are 1 or 2 other areas dotted around the city where there's a lot of other examples of decent graffiti and street art, but the last 2 decades particularly, Digbeth's been the place. Well, this piece was for the Odeon Cinemas. The Odeon Cinema updated one of their new showcase cinemas in the city centre just over 12 months ago. They contacted me, they asked me whether I could do it around about this time last year, so this has been up for about a year. At the time, I was just about to fly to Dubai to do a large commission, so literally I had to get something down, get a load of images that had to do with Birmingham icons and cinema, and the Odeon Cinema as well. Literally came back from Dubai, and the next day I started this, and it had to be finished 2 days later. So I literally had 3 days to do it. Because the scene has exploded, not just in this city, across the world, and it's brought in, it used to be a real hardcore working class type of artist, and the art establishment didn't get it. But now, with all these facets of like street artists and graphic designers and illustrators all painting stuff on walls, it's all people from all different walks of life. It's not just about working class people. I go into schools and I talk to kids about graffiti in their art lessons. That would have been unheard of when I was at school, and I've even been into lectures and talked to students about street art. So there's guys leaving university with a degree in fine art, and they want to be a street artist.
So this is where the Proteas were based during their stay in Birmingham, just a few kilometres away from Edgbaston, but we're headed in a different direction. We're on a bit of a road trip to head to the Motor Museum. The British Motor Museum is a short drive from Birmingham and is the perfect attraction for fans of automobiles. Housing a replica of the first car ever built, modern British sports cars, and everything in between, the museum's collection of hundreds of iconic cars will leave an indelible mark in the heart of every motoring enthusiast that visits.
This museum really, for a lot of our visitors, is a trip down memory lane. A lot of our visitors come here to see the motor cars that their grandfathers had, their fathers had, and for people from our generation, the cars that we've had over the years as well. But this museum has about 350 cars altogether, and we're split between 2 buildings. 150 in here, there's another 200 in our collection centre. And we go back to the very start of the motor industry in 1886 with a replica of Carl Benz's motor car from Germany at that time. and then picking up in 10 years later when the motor industry in the UK really then started to pick up and run. 60 years ago this year, the Mini was launched, and when it was launched, the only way to describe it is, I guess, revolutionary, because it had three particular features. Not necessarily new, but they were new to major production cars. The first one was the transverse engine, i.e. putting the engine in across the car instead of in line. That allowed him to put the gearbox underneath as a sump gearbox rather than behind the engine. That allowed the car always to be made a lot shorter. And then he had front-wheel drive, which was something that was pretty new in production cars at the time. And the Mini has been the template in many ways for a lot of small production car since its launch in '59. Land Rover was one of the other icons of British motoring, in particular the Defender, which started life off in 1948. It carried through production until 2016, and if I were to set the 2016 one next to the 1948 one, the very first one that we have here, you would immediately recognise, that one belonged to the other and one had been derived from the other. There had been minor changes to the fronts. So the headlamps, for instance, have migrated out to the wings, but the shape of the front is substantially the same as it was in 1948. There are some cars here that are priceless. The problem with a museum like this that has lots of cars that are, say, the first and last off the line, they are unique. They have never been offered for sale, but there is one Jaguar, the XJ13, that was designed originally to run at the Le Mans 24-hour race, but never ever did get to race. But when they were launching the Jaguar E-Type with the V12 5-litre engine, the XJ13 was taken to the launch, and unfortunately, even though he'd been warned about the age of the tyres and the wheels, he managed to flip the car, and so back it went into storage. It's now been restored and it sits here in all its glory, but we know that the Jaguar Daimler Trust has probably been offered around 25 million to part with the car, but they'll never ever do that.